Who gives a rat? What's up, Emerald Coast?
Hey, welcome to
Thursday. Sorry, I missed you yesterday, RJ.
May 28th. Totally forgot. I'm like, where's Chris? Oh, he's taking a special day today.
I was clearing myself out for our guest today, and I'm saying that out loud just because he's that important to me. I wanted to be clean and fresh and ready because this to me, RJ. I know we're gonna go to the guest early.
You're right. Today you're not.
Look how giddy
you're
I
not
am.
Full of crap.
I am not full of any crap today because I cannot be accused of that because our guest really is. I know that for a fact. We've debated many a time. But to me, this is very special because I'm blessed and honored that you've helped put this together so I can come in here and talk. But see, I got my little start in this. What is this called? The broadcast world.
Your celebrity and fame.
You always look at the people you idolize that, and I'm an ESPN fan. I grew up watching Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann, The Big Show, Scott Van Pelt and all those guys. And here we have this opportunity. One of our best friends and this area's own.
You're right. Yeah.
Right here has gone on to big things and found the time to come back and do our show today.
I'd like to say that I helped him get that start with our little NFL or the Super Bowl
that one show
prediction.
That one show.
I bet you he took that one show.
And he gave it to ESPN.
He gave the ESPN and said, "Listen, these guys want to give me a show, but what can you offer me?"
Yeah.
I want
show
me the money.
I would say I gave him his start too by he realized how much he did not want to be in the restaurant business anymore.
Does anybody know what we're talking about?
This is Rob Brown.
Let's bring him on.
Rob Brown of ESPN. And somewhere in South Carolina, I understand, is that the new epicenter of all of ESPN Upstate? I love that. How are you, my friend Rob Brown?
Good, fellas. I'm good. I miss you guys back home all along the Emerald Coast, and I appreciate the opportunity to come in here and just kind of mess around. I would say talk serious stuff, but I've known Chris Seaman too long to know that that's what's going to happen here. So
this is very true. Yeah.
well, Rob, part of just so you know the premise of the show, it is, before you left, things were normal, and then you left, and things went to crap. We're going to stay with that part of the theme here, because all of a sudden there was a pandemic, and you left behind the Panhandle in a pandemic, and we have to carry on along the Emerald Coast. It is still one of the prettiest places in the world. I know Crab Island is near and dear to your heart. I see you commented on it occasionally as you found this great new place to live, but. Here we are. The premise of the show is the post-pandemic life. And you went off and said, well, you know what? I'm going to get out of here before this pandemic happened. And you headed to South Carolina. So what happened when you got there?
Well, I want to begin by saying the way that you put it's interesting because you said you left here and then a pandemic started. And the people in South Carolina are saying you got here and then a pandemic started. So,
It's about you, Rob. It's about you.
Well, it depends on who you ask, I guess. If it's my fault, it's all about me. But no, I'm up here in Greenville, South Carolina, right in the upstate. It's in the northwestern corner of South Carolina, about 45 minutes south of Asheville and about 2 hours to the northeast of Atlanta. Moved back up here in March, early March, and have been hosting my own show on ESPN Upstate in Greenville ever since then. And like I said, very much miss the Emerald Coast. That place will always be home, but everything is going really, really well up here. And it's been interesting because without sports, hosting a sports show, super fun.
Right. I think I remember sending you a message, or I think we might even had a phone call, and we joked about you got up there, you had one day of sports, and then the next day the NBA shut down. And I remember your post on Facebook, and I was still in disbelief that this had gotten so serious that, to react to a pandemic and all that the science behind this is that the NBA was the first to come out and say, well, I guess in the United States, let's just say, that mass gatherings had to come to an end. And I remember reading your post, and you were the first person I thought of. And I'm like, man, my boy goes up there and gets a show. and he's got nothing to talk about. So, Rob,
no March Madness with the March numbness.
March numbness, yes. So I know you continue to do your show. So what was the focus? What did you talk about? How did you deal with pandemic life when you got to finally do the big part of your dream? And I can only congratulate you thousands of times to have that logo behind you on the screen there. I'm really proud of you. So what did you do to make the most of it between now and then?
So, what's been really interesting is I've always said that sports and real life do not exist separate from each other, right? They're not in their own individual bubble, which is why I've always loved the stick to sports guys, right? You're a sports guy, stick to sports. But the reality is sports are such a big part of our life. That's why the NFL is $1 billion industry. The NBA is $1 billion industry. There's no such thing as stick to sports, to the point that I think the NBA, after Rudy Gobert got the coronavirus, and the NBA said, that's it, we got to shut this thing down, because in the day and a half after they recognized that Rudy Gobert tested positive, they went back and found out that he was in contact with easily a couple hundred different NBA staffers who were in contact with everybody else.
That's right.
Just to be playing each other over the up to 14 days that you can be positive with coronavirus and not actually show symptoms. So the fact that we have this bleed over between the real life that we're going through with the coronavirus and the sports side of it with the decision to stop sports. You've got all the players associations and the leagues trying to work together to figure out how we're going to get sports back. You've got the UFC putting on fights down there in Jacksonville and saying, we're going to be safe, we're going to be fine. Well, then it turns out one of the fighters did have the coronavirus. 2 of his trainers got it. They were in contact with everybody else. So what kind of disaster are we looking at there? You've got the fight that is now developed. And Chris, I want your opinion on this as a big baseball guy, between the Players Association and the owners of Major League Baseball. And it looks like they may not even play baseball, and it has nothing to do with the coronavirus. It's got everything to do with the financial side of things. So it's really funny in that I've told people I might have more to talk about now than I did when sports were getting played. And granted, it's all kind of focused on COVID-19, but it is still very interesting sports topics, and a lot of them that it's very easy to have some strong opinions about. So I was really worried at the beginning of this pandemic that I may have picked the worst time in sports history to decide to jump back into sports broadcasting. But here we are 2 months later, and I am not hurting for material. I wish I was, honestly. I wish that we weren't dealing with this, and I was just talking NBA Western and Eastern Conference Finals right now, which is where we should be on the timeline. But instead, we're talking how COVID is impacting sports, and it's a pretty lengthy discussion.
And I appreciate you coming back to me with baseball, because you gave me one little piece of advice, and I'll never forget it. Why are there birds on our desk, RJ?
Why are there birds on your desk?
That's my tech guy. We are technically outside. That is fantastic. I have the best tech nerd in the world, my friend. See what we deal with when we do our own shows. And I mean, I don't know what your tech people are like.
On the fly here.
Yeah, no pun intended.
I just realized that it's always probably
no pun intended on the fly. See, I can't imagine the help you have up there, Rob. It's got to be a little different. Listen, I asked you a question when I started the show. And I was, when you were leaving, and I asked you about this, and you gave me some really sound advice, and I'm going to share it with the viewers, because I thought it was fantastic. Is the more personal you make your dialogue about the topic, the more compelling it becomes. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing just to talk stats and how well LeBron did versus the opposing team that night. There's nothing to really compel the edge of the sports fan to that topic. So when you ask me about baseball, you know me, and that's in my heart. Baseball is a big deal, and I think it's the heart of America to a degree. And I say baseball doesn't play, and it's because the egos won't come around. If it does play, and I don't mean just the egos of the players. You can't just forego your salary, because when you get on the field, not only is there the COVID risk, but there's the risk of turning your ankle when you slide in the second, or the risk you pull a muscle pitching. That risk is still the same. If they do play, it's going to be. And what I do believe, that if we do get some sports, the good thing that comes out of this virus, it's going to expose the weaknesses of the games in a way that we want it so bad, but yet, I mean, they were talking about, well, would you watch if Mike Trout doesn't play? I will watch. I'll watch Little League baseball. So, because I don't need a name to watch the beauty of the game of baseball. But I won't watch the NBA until I see it's the playoffs. So I think what the viruses are going to expose is the way they do the playoff formats, the way they create the urgency to be a competitive team, to keep your city in it. I mean, let's face it, the Orioles are tied for first right now, but if they started playing tomorrow, we are eliminated. Because it's just the way it is, and it breaks my heart to say that, but the way the structure of sports is becoming today. But I think if they make a format where it's almost a sprint to the finals, that the Orioles might be compelling for a period of time. They can play the Yankees for some reason. We play the Yankees well. We can't beat Tampa to save our lives, but so I think the virus is going to really make the powers that be in sports really rethink how we, the viewer, pay attention to the TV. Because let's face it, that's where we are. Not everybody goes and sits in that stadium. And but right now, we're not going to be allowed to sit in that stadium. I don't think we're watching the Iron Bowl in whatever stadium the Iron Bowl would have been in this year. So,
yeah. Well, I'll start by saying this. First and foremost, there's two elements to that. And we put the second one aside for a few minutes. First, I don't think we're going to have fans in the stands for any sport in 2020. Maybe some of the smaller leagues will take the risk, but the liability issues that are going to come into play for the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, et cetera, you're talking millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of potential litigation if somebody comes to the arena and gets sick. So I would tell people now, start preparing to enjoy your sports with no games. I'll tell you personally, I've been watching.
What do you mean? You said no games? You mean no
fans at games?
Let me rephrase that. Okay, fair enough.
Let me be clear about that before people start freaking out. I've been watching the Bundesliga, which is German's top tier soccer. Earlier this week, they had Bayern Munich versus Dortmund, which is the top two teams on the table in German soccer. That is the rivalry game. That's the Auburn, Alabama. That's the Dallas, Washington. That's the big game in that league. No fans in the stands, and it was just a very odd feeling. Now, the game was phenomenal, and the players didn't really seem to lack enthusiasm without fans, but it was just a different feel to the whole thing, and that's going to be weird. As far as how we watch on TV, I'd like to agree with you on that. But we're going to have kind of skewed numbers because let's be honest, and you and I were talking about this before we went on the air, Chris, I'll watch anything competitive right now. I spent 7.5 minutes yesterday watching marbles go around on a circular track because that's all I had competitive in my life. So when baseball plays, when football plays, when basketball plays, regardless of format and who's competitive and why, they're going to have the highest number sports has ever had. Now, I'll question what that's like next year, and we'll go from there. The good news, though, is that, and I do like this, sports is given this opportunity through the COVID to start experimenting, right? They can take this 2020 season, which we all know is going to be a weird season. It's going to be an asterisk season for whoever wins a championship.
There you go.
You can experiment. For instance, here's one that I really want to see. When the NBA comes back, I would love to see the NBA do away with East and Western conferences and just have the league, like a soccer league does, have the league top 16 or 24 teams make the playoffs, and we do it tournament style, right? We do it. March Madness works as a tournament. Why doesn't the NBA do that? You can do the first round as a 3-game series, second round as a 5-game series, and then semifinals as a 7-game series. This is a phenomenal opportunity to experiment a little bit and see what a different feel would be like. We've got the NFL putting in some experimental rules, potentially with the offside kick going away, with the potential for a booth referee who would be able to overrule the foot. There's so many opportunities for experimentation, and it's okay. I'm going to use this term. I don't mean it as dramatically as it comes across, but this is going to kind of feel like a throwaway season for at least the NBA and Major League Baseball.
I agree with that.
Like a throwaway season. So let's experiment a little bit and see the things that we like and don't like that we've always wondered. Perfect opportunity to do that. So, Chris, I've always said I'm a hopeless optimist. I got that from my old man. Let's find the silver lining in sports going away And that seems to be a big one to me. I lost your audio. If you
There we
can
go.
hear
Okay.
me. There we go.
Hey,
guy.
hey, so but they're also dealing with the players dealing with this issue as well. I mean, some of the up and rising ones, and they're not possibly getting their chance. The Olympics, I know, was also dealing with that as well. But the whole, are you up to speed with the pay thing they're trying to do between the scale?
Yeah, baseball's the big one with that, obviously, and watching the fight between the players' union and the owners is interesting because I have said for years that the last baseball strike did more damage to baseball than any cheating scandal could have, than Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire combined. If baseball doesn't go play baseball this year, and it's because of finances, not the COVID, and even though the COVID-19 caused the situation where they're having to reevaluate the finances, if the billionaires and the millionaires can't meet at a table and figure out a way to play baseball, wow, I think that will do irreparable damage to Major League Baseball. Agreed. That they're still feeling the impact of the strike, which was 20 years ago today.
Right. Yes.
Imagine what happens if this country that is craving live sports right now has Major League Baseball say, we can't play because we can't figure it out. Now, with that being said, neither the owners or the players are technically wrong. The owners that own these teams and use them to generate revenue are losing billions of dollars by cutting the season.
That is correct.
On the flip side, if you're a player, and I heard this, somebody called my show the other day and said, well, Rob, if you're making $28 million and they say, well, we want you to take $14 million instead, are you really going to balk at that? Hell yes, because I got to tell you, man, $14 million is a life-changing amount of money, even if you already have $14 million. So if I'm a player, of course I still want that other half of my salary if I am going to be the one that has to go on the field around hundreds of other players and coaches and staff and management and face the risk of bringing the coronavirus home to my family. So right. The weird thing about the situation is I think both the players and the owners have a very good point. But if they don't figure out a way to get together and play, baseball is going to be facing damage for years, maybe decades down the road.
Let me switch gears to a couple of things you said there, and I have two questions. And the first one is, and I'll remind you, after the riots in Maryland a few years ago, my beloved Orioles got to play a game, and there were no fans in the stands, and they wanted that game to be played because it had implications on the playoffs. Not because the Orioles were in it, but because the other team was. But still, I think the Orioles won, so we served our purpose. But so how do you think no fans in the stands, if the season's an asterisk, how do you think that affects players and their performance level? We've been to games in a gym and there's nobody in there, and you hear the sneakers hit the court. But when you don't have 20,000 fans, does LeBron play the same? Does the average guy off the bench, the eighth guy, does he play the same? How do you think no fans will affect the overall competition level? Does it get looser? Does it get more intense? What do you have a feeling about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've thought about that and I've talked about it on my show. It's really interesting, right? Because LeBron breaks away and he throws down a two-hand tomahawk jam. If there's not 22,000 people coming up out of their seats and taking the roof off the Staples Center, does it have that same energy and feeling? And I think the answer has to be no, right? Like there's when you see Mike Trout go yard in the bottom of the ninth and the crowd loses its mind with the fireworks going off, that's what makes sports great. Those moments are what we talk about for years and years to come. What is the Saints offside kick against the Colts in the Super Bowl? What is the energy in that building if the Saints fans are there drunk as a skunk and losing their minds? It changes the game. But again, I'm looking for silver linings in this COVID-19. That's what is driving me forward. And the silver lining is, for the first time in his career, we're going to get to see LeBron James just play basketball, right?
That's right.
Not have to worry about the crowd, the energy, whatever. He's going to play basketball the way that I play basketball when I head down to the Y and play pickup games. There's nobody, when I knock a three down from the corner, as rare as it is, there's nobody losing their mind in the stands for me. It's just a moment that I go, Boom, got it. I feel good about
You'll
myself.
have it Facebook Live.
Stop.
You'll see the little hearts.
Let's slow down
going
for
up
1
there.
second. There's a lot to digest there, Rob, because when you said LeBron plays like me, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna give you an asterisk. I'm gonna give you an asterisk and say, okay, Rob, I saw you play.
Okay, let me repeat that. Not play the way that I play, but play in the same environment.
Okay,
that
fair.
I play.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
Let me ask you one more. Let me switch gears again. Only because you know, if it's personal, as my great advisor in my broadcast career advised me, I'm a proud parent of an up and coming star in a sport, and her career literally was put on hold when the NCAA shut down early in the season. It's not fun to talk about. On a personal note, it's as a parent of an athlete, or as the athlete that's sitting there waiting for that opportunity, and you're waiting for the doors to open to play, the locker room to even be open. How do you think that, what effect do you see on the up and coming next generation? And I don't mean the kids that are in Little League now playing baseball, but I mean the ones that are in senior Little League and in college. The ones that, in the case of my daughter, she's ready to be on the college level to play beach volleyball. How do you think that, is it just a matter of, is the answer, they got to just be patient, or are there going to be some factors that change things around? Because at the same time, a lot of other athletes that have been sitting for a year are going to want to be there playing, because they're going to feel like a year of their career got stolen from them. Mm-hmm. Do you think that from that, let's put you back in your scenario. Let me do it this way. You are now playing in that gym with LeBron. And you are waiting for your opportunity. How does that impact you as you're waiting for the whistle to blow and you have your chance to be on the court?
Again, yeah, it's the up and coming that are really suffering from all this. Yes.
What do you see happening there? Is there a downside?
So again, like I said, I'm looking for silver linings. We're doing a focus here on our station called our Senior Sports Spotlight, where we're actually talking to high school seniors that are transitioning into college, and some of them are being told, hey, look, we're pushing pause. Now, granted, the NCAA has said that football, men's and women's basketball players starting June 1st can come back to campus and start working out. So they are kind of proceeding back to normalcy. But for some of the smaller sports that aren't allowed back on campus yet, I'll tell you the truth, guys, I don't know. I want to be able to empathize with them, but I don't know how it would feel. I know how I have felt very nervous about the situation for sports broadcasters, right? Because the budget when there's no sports comes down. I know personally of at least 4 people that have lost their job in broadcasting so far. Wow. because of the COVID-19 outbreak. So from the standpoint of somebody who's they're ready to transition into adulthood, I don't know. But I will tell you one thing that I've heard from every high school senior athlete that we have talked to on our Senior Sports Spotlight. I've asked every one of them the same question, which is, what are you taking from this? What are you going to learn from this? And every one of them has said, I am learning that life is going to throw curveballs and you just have to figure out how to move on. That's what you do. So we are looking for ways to transition more smoothly. We are looking for, how does this transition to the next step work? How do I get ready for sports when I can't go to the sport, etc.? And it blows my mind that while I'm watching adults freak out about masks and social distancing and all that, these high school seniors that have had their passion ripped from them are all telling me on the radio, hey man, look, it's just a little adversity and you adapt and you overcome and you get by it. And it's I'll tell you this, our Senior Sports Spotlight that we've been focusing on these seniors has given me a renewed sense of faith in the next generation, because while it's the Instagram influencers and weirdos like that are propped up as the next generation, it's these high school seniors that are telling me, look, I've got the scholarship, I've earned my spot on the team, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to play, but if I can't, you know what, it's okay. I can make my impact a different way. these are the kids that are going to grow up to be the leaders, and I hope that turns out to be the case.
That's a great message, Rob, and I'm glad you're focused on that.
They'll fight it in the playground arena.
Yeah, I'm proud of you for taking your platform and reaching out to. That's a big deal, you know, staying away from the cliches, the children of our future, and blah blah. I love when you apply it to real life and back to that personal, giving them that advice. That's fantastic, and you're hearing it from them. That makes gives me a lot of faith and hope as well. A message that I can obviously hopefully carry on to a youngster of my own.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob, speaking of transitions, man, I know you got a big show. I don't know what you're going to talk about now that you've talked to us the whole time, but
you can talk about
maybe
us.
you can play our show back on the ESPN, and then maybe say hi to Scott Van Pelt for me. He's a Maryland boy, and an Oriole fan. So. But if you could pass that message on, I'd appreciate it. But, buddy, thank you for taking the time out to do our show today.
And when you're ever down here, because I know you keep Facebook messaging like, oh, this place is not like Destin. You know,
yeah, he'll be back. Don't worry. He'll be back.
We'll get you out there in Crab Island.
He'll eventually have to come get a Hellenbeck pizza, and he'll eventually have to come be out of Crab Island.
One.
So, hey, Rob, it's been I can't thank you enough. It was fun having you You were a great soundboard personally. As your boss comes in to tell you, hey, get to work. And
breaking news, the Premier League is back June 17th, Chris. We've got soccer coming back.
There we go. There we go. Look at that. Is that the guy from Ballers? Is that the guy from
Ballers?
Is that the guy from Ballers that does the
It's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there you go. There we go. Oh, sorry about that. Hey, Rob. Well, thank you very much for being here, my friend. You've been a big inspiration as I came in to do this project with RJ, and it's been
we
fun.
all started talking about this together.
That's right. We started with you, then of course you said, "Okay, we'll do this," and then you left.
And we're like, forget him. We're just going to start our own show.
But man, we're proud of what you're doing up there, and if you need anything at all, you know where to find us. And go do your thing with ESPN. And keep us posted.
And keep next year's date in March for the possible Florida State basketball tournament for the
I think somewhere.
I would love to have you back on.
I see a future of What's Up Emerald Coast next to ESPN doing a side-by-side marble racing play-by-play. I'll run it by our boss if you want to run it by your boss, and I think that would be a great thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate you fellas very much, Chris. Everything you've done for me over the years when I've hit some rough patches, man. I can say sincerely you are one of the people that have made this possible for me, and I will always be grateful to you. RJ, you have given me more opportunities than I probably deserve to get experience under my belt, so I have you to thank as well. But I appreciate you guys, everybody back on the Emerald Coast. I miss y'all tremendously. Can't wait. I'll actually be home, I think, in about 3 weeks. I'll be home because the band's got a couple of gigs that I decided I'm coming home to play some music. So hope everybody can come and hang out. And again, I look forward to spending some weekends on Crab Island over the summer. As much as Greenville is my home now, the Emerald Coast will always be home, and I'll be back to see you guys real soon.
All right, my friend. Good job.
Take care.
ESPN Rob Brown. How about that? That's just saying that sounds badass, as my phrase always is. He's a world-class badass right there.
Yeah.
Rob Brown with ESPN. There's nothing happier to come out of my mouth right now than to say that about my friend.
It's good to see a local boy
do big.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I didn't get to ask him Clemson or South Carolina, and I don't want to because I know some other person will pop their head in that door and start some kind of brawl. Yeah. So I know he walks a fine line because I know what teams are really his teams, and I don't. I'm sure we don't have a lot of viewers up in South Carolina right now, so that's probably good because I don't want to give away the dirty secrets. Mm-hmm. But yes, go LSU. Anyway,
we've definitely gone way over our time.
Yeah.
Good content over there. I'm not sure if anybody really interested in what's happening in the news today.
There's nothing happening in the news.
It's all about sports today.
I got to go finish a ceiling on the news store.
Basically, it's just reiterating stuff that we kind of already know happening.
It's okay. That's the privilege of our show, RJ. If the news is Okaloosa, the beauty of Okaloosa County is sometimes no news isn't a bad thing. It's just, hey, let's get ready to go to the beach. Get ready to go to Crab Island. Everybody's doing some business this weekend. It is what would normally be This is the extra weekend prior to Bowlegs weekend.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
the way the calendar
This would
falls,
normally be
and
Bowlegs
Bowlegs
weekend
got
coming
no,
up.
it would not. That's actually it would be next.
It would be next weekend coming up. Oh yeah, you're
The
right.
first Saturday of June.
It would be June 5th.
So it'll be next week. So this would be an extra fun weekend. So hopefully the businesses around here get to enjoy that. There isn't a Bowlegs until August this year. I think they backed it up.
They did. They did
So
back it up.
hopefully when I say everybody stay rational, that means we don't have to worry about Bowlegs this
And if
weekend.
you're visiting, pick up your litter.
Oh my
Find
God!
the right place to
People,
park.
welcome to our beach. Pick up the trash.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's $5 if you're parking for the city.
I'm gonna start
$10 if
putting-
you're walking parking at Harbor Walk.
I'm going to start just putting stuff back in people's cars.
So get on a bike because bikes are making a big boom right now.
There we go. There
Yeah.
we go.
So-
Are we done?
I think we're done.
Okay. Thank you everybody for being here today, and thanks again to Rob Brown. That's fantastic.
Take care and have a good one.